Our time is 11:05. This is 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, worldwide at country.am. We're also on the Simple Radio TuneIn app and also on Amazon Echo and Dot. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play WKRK, and you can listen in there. All right, let's see. I cannot find my paper that has our paid political disclaimer on it, so I'm going to try my best to remember it from the top of my head. The following is a paid political program. WKRK prides ourselves in being completely transparent. We offer airtime for all political candidates, parties, and folks who want to discuss political issues, and we will be transparent about who is paying and sponsoring the program. The following program is paid for by Palmer for Sheriff.
Good morning.
Did I do okay on the disclaimer?
I think you did. I think you remembered that pretty well.
I've heard it so many times now. I think we got it now.
Right. How are you doing this morning?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing very well.
I'm doing even better now that I see some cake over there to my left.
Well, we've got a guest that we're going to introduce here in just a little bit, but I just want to let everybody know that Helen Long baked me a birthday cake, and we have eaten the vast majority of it. And so I brought it to the radio station this morning, but she also had me out delivering cakes yesterday. I think Nationwide got a cake yesterday, and those folks were very appreciative of it. So
they were. They called here.
They asked me, said, "Is part of your duty is delivering cakes now?" And I said, "It's whatever people want from me." So I guess that's part of my duty.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, good morning and welcome to our show. And for folks, this show is not on Facebook Live today. And after the primary election is held, we will resume that. But in the interest of fairness to opponents, we do the paid political programs on the radio and our TV broadcast only. So just to let people know what's going on, that way we're not showing any endorsements, favoritisms from our standpoint.
Right.
Okay.
It is election year.
It is election year, and it seems just like 4 years ago, no, like yesterday.
Yeah.
Not 4 years ago that you were here,
right?
For the very first time introducing yourself.
People at the office yesterday saying, "I can't believe it's already been 4 years." It seems like we just got started. So, but yeah, it is that time again. Just make sure everybody understands before we get into our program today, and we'll talk about it more a little bit in a little bit. But the election, the sheriff's election, will be decided in the primary May 8th. Only Republicans and independents can vote in that primary for sheriff. So if you're a Democrat out there and you want to vote in the primary, the only way you can vote in it for sheriff is to either switch to Republican or independent to vote. And and
a lot of people have switched, haven't they? Just so they can vote. And this is a very strange election cycle.
It's very strange. This is the strangest thing that we've seen in Cherokee County in a long time. All the commissioner candidates are Republican except for one Democrat that's filed. So most of their races will be decided in May. Mm-hmm. Most of the school board races, I think with the exception of a couple write-in candidates or a couple of independents, is all Republicans. So most of those is going to be decided in May. And it's just, I don't know, November. I think there's only going to be one election in November in Cherokee County. So.
And this kind of breaks my heart.
Right.
Because usually November, we make a lot more money.
Right. That is true. Let me say one other thing before I introduce my guest, because I have been asked quite a bit here recently about the situation at DSS and what's going on out there. I do want to say that the reason I've not made a comment on that and not been talking about it is a couple of reasons. One is I'm like everybody else. I read what happens in the paper. I have no other information than anybody else don't have. And so everything I've got from what I've read in the papers and that type of thing too. So from what I've read, it seems to me like this is an attorney issue with legal paperwork and stuff there at DSS. So the first reason I don't want to make any kind of comments on it is because I'm not an attorney. So I can't say anything about whether anything was done properly or improperly or legal or illegal. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. The second reason why I don't feel like it's appropriate to make a comment on all that is because it has absolutely nothing to do with the sheriff's office.
Right.
And the sheriff's office is not part of that, is not part of any of that paperwork, is not part of any of those decisions that's made out there, has absolutely nothing to do with it. So I think it would be inappropriate for me to make comments and post and all those kind of things on what's happening out there. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that and what's going on there. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to mention it anymore. But today I do have a guest that we want to introduce today. A very good friend of mine, someone I've known for many years and worked with for many years. It is our elected district attorney who is running unopposed.
That's correct.
Ashley Welch. And I do want to thank you for coming out today, Ashley.
You're welcome.
And Ashley has done a good job as district attorney, and as a result of that, she is running unopposed. And she mentioned in our county convention, when we had our convention, I think she was as shocked as anybody else was about that. So, but she has done a good job, and we work very well with the district attorney's office, and have prosecuted a lot of cases, made a lot of cases this past 3 years. And so she's going to talk to us a little bit about that. And
This is her first time on the station, too.
I think
Yes,
isn't it?
sir.
Yeah.
It
Welcome.
is.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. So Ashley, you got the next 30 minutes. No, I'm just joking.
I am an attorney, so
Right.
I can talk for 30
There you
minutes.
go. There you go. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
This is the first time I've been here, and it's pretty exciting.
Uh-huh.
I'm happy that I'm on the radio and not on television,
Right.
which is good.
Yeah.
I am the elected district attorney for the 7 westernmost counties. Right now it's the 30th district.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting ready to change it to the 43rd. And I'm lucky because Cherokee County is one of
Right.
my counties.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've been fortunate to work with you for the past 4 years.
When did we start working together? That's probably been
2005.
yeah, somewhere along in there. When I was at the drug task force, and you was
Yes.
a assistant district attorney at that
Yes.
point. Right.
Yes, that's all I've ever done.
Right.
Is prosecute, and
Yeah.
I came out here in May of '05 and met you.
And I tell you, over the years of from 2005 to now, working with Ashley both as an ADA and as a district attorney, we've been able to prosecute a lot of cases, especially drug cases.
We have.
We've put a lot of drug cases through the system, and not just in state court, but working with federal court and trying to transfer a lot of that stuff into the federal system and getting those folks on board with things. Ashley's been very instrumental on that, about getting things done in federal court, and we've got some of those things that's actually brewing now and going now that we can talk about in a little bit. But I just want to let Ashley know how much we appreciate you and the hard work that you've done in your office, and
Thank you.
that we enjoy working with you, and we look for years to come. to work
We do
together.
too.
Yeah.
We love working with you and your department.
Right.
So we're looking forward to a long working relationship.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that has come up, and both from a political realm and just community wondering about things, is from time to time things get dismissed out of district court.
Mm-hmm.
They get dismissed for a lot of reasons, especially in district court. Things also get dismissed out of superior court sometimes, but most of the things that get dismissed come out of district. There's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of things we run into issues with is like probable cause hearings and different things where we don't have results back from the state lab yet.
That's correct.
Reports that have to be written that we don't have all the information. We're still interviewing people. And so sometimes that defense attorneys can come up and say, I want a probable cause hearing today, and all that stuff may not be compiled yet or together yet. And because of that, it may get dismissed out of district court, but that doesn't mean the case is over with. We still go back and indict it later and prosecute it in superior court. And I didn't know if you wanted to speak to that just a little bit about how that works and some of the
I
things that
do.
happen.
I think sometimes people see, when they read the newspaper, that tons of cases are being dismissed, and I hear that sort of everywhere I go. But that's not really the reality of the situation.
Right.
Anytime somebody's charged with a felony and it goes into district court, they're entitled to a probable cause hearing. And sometimes we don't have the paperwork if we need a state lab on drug analysis to come back and we're not ready. We're stuck with two decisions. Either we can agree to reduce somebody's bond and continue the case, or we can dismiss it, and then we can recharge it and send it to Superior Court when we have everything ready.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that's confusing from a lot of people in the public, because like Ashley says, you do see things in the paper where something's been dismissed, and people think, well, they got away with it, but that's not true most of the time. There are things that happen. You could have a probable cause hearing and the judge could suppress a search warrant,
That's
or
true.
there's something that didn't go quite right in it, and they could find no probable cause, and it would wind up in the case being dismissed. But those are very few and far between. Most of those things that are dismissed are reindicted back into Superior Court, and some of those things even may not go back into Superior Court, but may go to felony charge or to a federal charges and go to federal court.
That's correct. We try so hard to figure out which system is going to give
Right.
us the most time.
Right. So that's one of the things that we try to work with on that with the district attorney's office, is we may have things such as our trafficking cases and those type of things that come up that they may get a certain amount of time in state court, but we may look if we can indict this into federal court. There might be a gun involved or something like that the ATF might pick up and take it into federal court. then we may just dismiss it outright in state court and take it to federal court, and they get more time in federal court because there might be a gun involved or gang affiliation or some of those type of things
That's
that could
correct.
really enhance the charges in federal court. So just wanted to make sure that people kind of understood how that works just a little bit with that. And the other thing that we get a lot of, and and this is something that I have to educate people every single day about this, is the sheriff don't set the bonds.
And neither does the
The
district
does the
attorney.
district attorney's office. So
And they're not punitive.
right,
That's
they're not
correct.
punitive. Right, we've talked about that quite a bit on the radio, haven't we?
We have. But
that-
people still get upset that this bond is not a good enough punishment.
Right.
And it's not supposed to be a punishment.
Right. And so when we talk about bonds and bonds being set, of course, we like to see high bonds. We like to see people stay in jail for a while and those kind of things. But the reality of it is the sheriff has no control over bonds, doesn't set those bonds. The district attorney doesn't. We can make recommendations to the court, and we can talk to the court about what we want bonds to be and what we think they should be. But ultimately, it's up to the judicial system to set those bonds and what they feel like the appropriate bonds are on that. So that's always an issue for us too, I think. And not only do we fight that fight, but I think the district attorney's office fights that on a daily basis also.
All the time. We'll hear, well, law enforcement's arrested people and y'all are just letting them out. What are you doing? Well, bonds are not punishment.
Right.
And so we don't have a lot of say-so in that.
Right.
If somebody can show that they have ties to the community and can show up to court, then the presumption is they get a bond.
Right. And that's really what it's all about. It's just making sure people show up for court, making sure they get there.
And if they do, they get it back.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. And like I say, it's not taking money away from people and trying to hurt people because of their crimes they are allegedly committed, but it's just to ensure they show up for court. And
Maybe we
present
should
themselves.
rename that to security deposit.
That's a good
smart.
idea. That is actually a good idea there, Tim. Why don't you run for legislation and change that?
All right.
Be a legislator.
That is more what it is.
That is really more what it is, a security deposit to make sure you get there. But we are constantly working on the situation on drug charges and different things, especially in our county. And I haven't went back and checked. I really need to pull those numbers. We'll do it on a later show to let people know kind of what those numbers are. But I can assure you that we have made more trafficking arrests and drugs in the last 3 years than probably the last 10
I'd say
in Cherokee
so.
County.
I'd say so.
And so, I mean, we are constantly arresting people on larger amounts of drugs, and that attests to our narcotics unit and our detectives about the good work they're doing out there. Just last night, we're going to do a press release a little bit later on this, but just last night we did a search warrant where 112 grams, a quarter pound of meth was seized out of a home here in Cherokee County.
Wow.
And that is the diligence of our narcotics officers and our detectives that are not just rushing in and doing traffic stops and catching people with just little amounts of things, but they're following through and they're looking in on where it's coming from and trying to hone in on who's doing the dealing and who's doing the supplying. And so we could do traffic stops, and we could do a lot more traffic stops and arrest a lot more people with drugs on traffic stops. But you're getting those little amounts that's getting low bond set, and they're getting through the system and getting turned out without a real meaningful punishment.
Yes.
And so what we're going for is we're going for the meaningful punishments, and we're going for trying to stop the thing that's happening. And for me and my administration, it's never been about numbers. It's never been about trying to see how many arrests we can get or the most numbers we can get, but it's about getting those quality cases and putting those people through the system. But if you want to speak of numbers just a little bit, if you know the papers printed a few weeks ago now, a month ago or so, about the increase in methamphetamine that's been seized in Cherokee County, the increase of heroin that's been seized, the increase of LSD, the increase of cocaine, and all those type of things that we've been seizing. And in 3 years, we have actually put through the court system over 1,200 drug charges in 3 years. And those have been substantial, meaningful drug charges, not just your paraphernalias and possession. So we're out there working very hard on that. And the DA's office are working very hard on prosecuting these things. But one thing I would like to mention also on the DA's behalf is that sometimes her staff can get overwhelmed with the amount of cases
Yes.
that
Yes.
come through. And so when you look at plea bargains and you look at those different things that come through the court system, it's a necessary evil of that going through there. Because if I think our court docket last week, I think one day had over 300 cases, another day had 150, another day had 200. all in the same week. So if you had 600-700 people all wanting a trial, there's no way the district attorney's office could do that.
It's just not possible.
Right.
How many counties does your office cover?
7
counties?
7 counties.
Wow.
It's huge. It is a huge, and what I've done is I have assistant DAs assigned to each county. And what I try to do is my assistant DAs live in the county or at least close to the county that they represent, because then they have a vested interest too in making sure that that county is safe. But also what a lot of people don't realize is on these drug charges, there's sentencing guidelines and charts that judges are required to follow. So a lot of times you'll see that somebody's gotten probation and say this is their 4th felony charge. And everybody goes, well, why aren't they getting sent into prison? It's entirely possible that it's not a crime that they're eligible for prison sentence on. So we'll get them on supervised probation for a period of time, and that allows law enforcement to go do warrantless searches. And
Right. And I think the situation last night was that originally we were able to go in originally on a warrantless search for probation and parole. And the person, without getting too much in detail what happened, the person was in the process of trying to destroy some of the drugs, and we're able to secure the scene and secure the people, and was able to subsequently go back and get a search warrant to come back and search the house. Even though it's a warrantless search, we like to do what our attorneys kind of explain to us is it may be legal to go ahead and do the search, but let's take the defense attorney's argument away from them.
That's right.
And so we go ahead and do the search warrant anyway, and do that on top of that, so we're kind of double covered on the search. So those guys that was out last night, I think started about 10 o'clock last night, and I think they went home at 9:30 this morning. So they were out literally out all night processing things and interviewing people and making arrests. So it's not something that like you do a traffic stop, like in 30 minutes, it's over 45 minutes. It's something that you have to process and go through and collect evidence and do crime scenes, and you have to follow through with that and follow up with that to make sure that it gets done.
Ashley, you'd mentioned earlier that we're getting ready to change from District 30 to 43.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that right? What's the reason for that?
I don't really know all the reasons, but they've renumbered all the districts in the state. And so what they did is they combined some of the districts that had been separated. So down east you would have, one county is District 9A, and then 9B and 9B and 9C and 9D, and it was very confusing. So they merged a bunch of counties back and made them bigger districts, and then they renamed all of them. And so we're going to be District 43.
Are you keeping the same 7 counties?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I didn't realize if they were redrawing the lines or
They
what.
did redraw the lines in other parts of the state, but I have the same 7 counties.
All right.
I think that was a discussion out here, and I
It
think
was.
it was a discussion, but I think they ultimately wound up leaving it the way it is.
And it was I was very opposed to them splitting it.
Right.
There was all this talk about giving Haywood and Jackson a district, and then these 5 western counties. And one of the things that I kept saying is it's based on population, and if you do that, the people of Macon County, Cherokee County, Clay County, Graham County are going to suffer because we'll lose resources. So I fought that hard.
Right. And that's one of the things that we always and you hear this said a lot, and it is true in a certain extent, but Raleigh kind of thinks that the western part of the state's Hickory and Asheville. And they tend to forget there's many more miles west of that. And so people that we have come out here from Raleigh and come out to visit Cherokee County, they're like, man, I didn't realize how far it was out here. And we turn around and say, well, now you understand why we're not going to Raleigh every week for
That's
meetings.
right. That's right.
And it cost us a lot of time, resource, and money to go to Raleigh to meetings. So one of the things when Ashley was talking about the district, a lot of times when monies get appropriated and resources get appropriated, it gets appropriated to the amount of population.
That's right.
And so they would ultimately look at Western North Carolina and say Cherokee, Clay, Graham, Macon, those counties don't have a whole lot of population, so we're taking their resources and giving it to Hickory or to Charlotte or to Asheville or some of these other places.
Well, talking about Raleigh doesn't understand that we're part of Western North Carolina, what has the opening of the Western Carolina Crime Lab meant to the Sheriff's Office and the District Attorney's Office?
Oh, it is such a big help. It used to take anywhere from a year to 2 years to get blood analysis back on a DUI, and we can't proceed with a driving while impaired if it's blood. And so cases were getting dismissed. people were out for 2 years, and now the average is 60 to 90 days, which is
That's a huge-
amazing.
That's a big difference.
It is amazing. And it saves law enforcement from having to drive to Greensboro or Raleigh to take ballistics and DNA and drug evidence. It's not that far of a drive to Edneyville. And I always like going that way because
Right.
that's where my parents are.
I went out
But
there for the grand opening and did some video out there for that, and I was impressed.
It's amazing.
Yeah. There's a big difference between driving to Edneyville and driving to Raleigh.
That's right. Big difference.
Yeah, so it's really helped us, and our evidence tech who takes the evidence back and forth, picks evidence up, brings it saves us on resources and time, and having to pay somebody to deliver that, having to gas and stays and whatever else may happen. We can do day trips now. I was just getting stuff out there, picking stuff up, and bringing it back where it's not costing resources with the sheriff's office and the county as far as financially of having to spend all that extra time and money to do that. So it's really helped out tremendously.
Very good.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, like I say, we're always out trying to get drugs and trying to clean up the streets and different things, but unfortunately we have other things that are happening other than drugs that are in the county. And one of the big things that we have going on now, if you saw the Facebook post, is we've worked in conjunction with ICAC and the internet crimes people with different counties and within the district and with the Indian police rounding up sex offenders and charging sex offenders with that. So that's always a huge issue here in Cherokee County, is our war on the sex offenders and trying to keep all that problem at bay and protecting our children.
People
on that
think
part.
that that's just a big city problem, and it's
Right.
not.
Oh,
It
it's
isn't.
not.
It's everywhere, and I'm sure Ashley, by the district-wide, sees it a whole lot more than what we do. But it's every town, every rural place that, with the internet access and being able to contact anybody in the world, we see a lot of that internet crimes and child predators and those type of things going on. Roger Williams showed me one time a couple of years ago. He said, "I want you to see something just so you know." And he had set up a fake profile doing some undercover work on child sex predators. And he said, "I've not put this online yet." He said, "I'm getting ready to present it, put it online." He said, "But just hang around a minute." And he put that online as an invitation seeking young people. And in less than 5 minutes, there were hits coming from all over the place. People, trying to solicit them and trying to, solicit sex and different things from minors on there. And so not all of them were here in Cherokee County or close. Some, they could be as far away as New York or California or wherever.
But they're willing to drive.
But they're willing to go
Right.
wherever, And so one of our big things with the sex offenders that we really talk about a lot and try to do, and I'm sure Ashley is on board with this, is we don't necessarily want to try to entice someone from New York to come to Cherokee County just so we can arrest them, But what we do try to do is we try to look at those hits on our surrounding areas and those people that are nearby that are threats to our children.
Right.
And if it's somebody that's in Union County or Fannin or Polk or somewhere around or here in the Western District, those are things that we may do undercover deals on, and we may set up undercover stings to meet someone at a park or whatever to try to make it their arrest. But we're not in the business of trying to bring people from other parts of the country.
No, because they'll show up here and then they'll decide to stay.
Right. So we don't want that.
Right. Yeah.
But we do want to take care of our own backyard and take care of the things that are happening here. So I've always, and you're anybody that does Facebook or the computers know that you always get those private messages, from somebody you don't know, and some of them may be from what indicate that could possibly be some type of pornographic site or whatever. And so I kind of chuckle every time one of those come through. Right when I hit the delete button, I think there's Roger out looking for somebody else.
Yes, yes.
Or another law enforcement agency somewhere else.
I remember at Murphy First Baptist Church, Roger was talking about that,
Right.
and someone with a fake profile that he can entice here. That he says they're so shocked when they come and see my ugly face,
Right, yeah.
instead of the
Right.
person they're expecting to see.
Right. So, I do kind of chuckle to myself when I see those, because I'm sitting here thinking now, a 20-year-old good-looking woman from New York is not trying to friend me on Facebook, right?
Right.
So she don't want to be my friend. So this is either going to be some predator, or this is going to be, some undercover operation or something going on out there. So, I typically try not to friend people that I don't know or have some
yeah.
idea of who they are, you know. But we have to be very careful about that. And along those lines, I'm going to do a presentation at a church in Andrews here in the next few weeks of just taking a name at random with the KID program. It's a youth program. Just taking a kid at random or a name at random and doing a Facebook search in Instagram and Snapchat and all that, and just showing people how much information you can extract from just a post or just a Facebook message or something like that, and how you can find out where people live, how you can find out their families and where they go to school and
Their
all these different
routine.
things, the routines and where they work, and it's amazing how much information you can extract from that. And that's one of the reasons why when fighting these sexual predators, it's such a full-time job to do that, is because they can get so much information about you that if they are from Georgia or Arkansas or Tennessee or wherever it may be, they can find out where you live and Google Earth it and see your house and know where you go to school and all those type of things. So if you enter into those online conversations, you could very well entice someone to drive here, you know, to do something nefarious here. And so we just want to be vigilant about that and understand that even though drugs is a priority and drugs is kind of what everybody sees and that's kind of what's out in the forefront and what we think is the main problem here, we still understand there's other things going on that's very important, you know, of sex crimes and breaking and enterings and larcenies and assaults and all kind of different things that are happening too that we don't want to neglect.
So many of them are just tied together too.
Right.
Like a lot of the breaking and enterings are
Drug related.
drug related, and
Yeah.
Domestics can be
Right.
drug related.
Yeah, very well. Good. We've had a couple incidents this week. We had a kid that, well, I say kid, it's a young man, drug-related mental issues type of thing that actually stabbed his mother this week. It was superficial cuts and it wasn't life-threatening, but still that shows you how a domestic situation could be as a result from not just drugs but mental illness and other things that are going on out there that we have to deal with. And so that's another topic that we have to think about when we go to the court system and we deal with people in the court system is mental illness and you know, whether they really know what they're doing and those type of things and how that works. And sometimes we have to send people to get them evaluated.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
have to figure out whether they know what they're doing and know the decisions they're making and those type of things. So, and we've run across that quite
We have
recently,
a
haven't we?
lot. Yes, very recently.
Yeah. And one thing that I do want to mention, I know time's running out, we'll have to go here in a minute, but one of the things I do want to mention on that too is that if you saw the press release we had here a while back on Keith Celebrezzi about emails that was being sent and Facebook posts and all those type of things, a lot of those were of a threatening nature and of a you saw the charges of extortion and intimidating witnesses and all those kind of things. But one thing that we do also want to put out there is that a lot of people feel like they can say whatever they want to on Facebook and they can put whatever they want to on social media and there's no ramifications for that. But we also need to understand is there are criminal laws against posting certain things and saying certain things on social media and doing certain things. And especially like election year with candidates that are running for office, sometimes we're fair game. People can say whatever they want to say. They can make up lies and they can put whatever they want to out there because unfortunately elected officials are pretty much fair game on things. But
There's a line.
yeah, but there is a line, and there is a line when you're saying things that are untrue, and you're making up things, and you're saying personal things about people
Or
and
things that
threatening
are
nature,
violent.
about things that are violent or threatening. There are lines that you can cross that come into criminal activity. So we just want to make sure that people understand that and be responsible when you're out there posting things and doing things online, sending emails and all those kind of things.
all right.
Right. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Ashley?
No, just
Yeah.
thank you for having me.
Well, it's good for you to be here
And
this
I'm
morning.
I'm proud of all the work that you and your department have done, and I'm looking forward to the next. Gosh, if we get through this election season,
Right.
it'll be 5 more
5
years.
more years,
so
yeah.
then we'll go from there.
Right. Well, thank you, and I do appreciate you coming out today and,
Yes,
and
sir.
talking with us. Anything we can do to help you, just let me know.
Thank you. Same here.
All right.
And it was nice to meet you again.
It was nice to meet you.
Yes, we met in Canton
Yes,
the first
sir.
time at it was the memorial service, and Ellen Pitt was conducting that. And it was about the those who had been killed by drunk driving.
or seriously harmed. It's a
Seriously
memorial
harmed.
service that she does once a year for families that have been affected by drunk driving.
All right, and she'll be back on the show tomorrow with Leo Phillips in around 11:11 tomorrow. So join us for that. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And the preceding was a paid political program paid for by Palmer for Sheriff. If you would like to purchase political advertising on WKRK, all you have to do is pick up the phone, call Miss Emma in our front office. She's at 837-4332. That's 828-837-4332.